Again, welcome. It is the one, the only L3 IRD, the bird, getting in some words. What's up, you all? It is awesome to see you all working today and, chilling out with me, the one, the only L3 IRD. And we're just, doing this live. And first off, we always have to start off with a little thank you to everybody. First off, I want to thank Definity Esports for hosting the show. We are doing this live for you all just to, help out the community, help out the summoners, learn a bit more about the game of League of Legends. But also, we want to thank our sponsors for Definity Esports. We have XMG, Antec, Triton, BenQ, and Mad Cat. So I want to thank those people. I think they are all over by my sides over here. But also check us out at Definitive Esports, d-esports.com, on the YouTubes and on the Twitter webs on the right, which is your right, which I'm looking at the monitor right now. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. So welcome again. This is gonna be episode 12 of learning the call to arms. So we are putting our knowledge into this game now, finally. And it's been a really fun game, but it's a interesting thing when you start off learning about the game and you don't actually know what to build. I think we gave general just in items and stuff like that, like a little bit of a kind of tactic into what items to start out with, but there's general ideas where you can find online. I really suggest solarmid.net for their guides, because even though LO Pro and I don't know if CLG Gaming has the guides, but LO Pro and Mobify have good guides, supposedly. I mean, they're pretty strong, but Solomid, I mean, I've been kind of religiously following them and stuff like that, but also because their quality of guides are really strong ever since Season 1, that's why I kind of still use their guides anyway. They have some really basic, such general ideas of how to play ADK, how to jungle, how to support, and they give you these really awesome item builds to like really start out with. So really look into that. Other than that, try to look up your own champion that you want to look at and stuff. But we're going to be going into the first basic thing of actually learning about how to build a character from each point, and then kind of going into what the core is for each person. And that'll be the first half of the show today. And the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about shoutcasting, the basics pretty much. So that's on the right over here. Again, guys, now we do have a schedule starting up. Finally, I did have that all settled down, so do check it out. I'm going to be having this on a little bit of the top right of the screen, so I think that's actually top of me. So yeah, do check that out. That'd be really cool. And yeah, that's all we do. But episode 12. So we got positioning pretty well down. We got orb walking, we got all these little advanced techniques, trading, last hitting, stuff like that, kind of down and kind of a down pat. But we haven't actually learned what to kind of build. Like, I can get gold, but how do I get this gold, and how do I build these things to get ahead and get advantages? For episode 12, we're going to be learning that today for pretty much all the lanes in general and just in the game. But we're going to be looking at some certain sites, and then we're going to be looking at a game which I have queued up already. So first things first, let's look at the AD carry. The AD carry, let's go look at the game right quickly over here. Hold on, really quick. I almost forgot the transition. Oh, there you go. Transition, go. So the AD carry over here, pretty good stuff right here, is Massacre 8, and I think Communist Puppy with Hack Bard are the two AD carries. Really quickly to see and note the starting builds for everybody. There's a difference between boots and no boots. For most people now in the metagame, it's going to be boots 3. I mean, that's the standard thing for everybody right now. Just because with boots 3, you have a pretty solid movement base. Let's just check Graves, and I think we're going to be looking at bottom lane because that'll be the easiest to start off from. Graves and Massacre 8, is that what I'm looking at? Oh, Clackbird. So Graves with that movement speed now has about 366, compared to what Clockbird has, who is 355 on the movement speed as well. They both started out Boots 3, and that's usually the thing you'll see in the early level 1 goes. Sadly for not, since we are in the American meta, the EU meta might be different a little bit, but general idea, if you go Boots 3, you pretty much save yourself slash, you know, play it pretty safe. Boots 3 in general is actually boots. You buy the 350 boots boost speed, which is level 1 boots, with 3 health pots, so you can be a little bit tanky as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what that is for the start of everything. Really quickly, I'm going to actually go all the way back to the beginning. Sorry about that, guys. But the big thing about, you know, starting up in a game, you want to know what your team comp is. Your team comp in the early go, and the mid game, and the late game. If you learn that you have a really strong level 1 advantage, you start off pretty aggressive. That's why you do see the Blitzcrank right here, Kami's picking up 2 wards to kind of just start out and you know, zone, but also get into their face really quickly, because with movement speed you get there quicker, obviously, and with being quicker you absolutely can grab or, you know, get somebody even better. But really quickly, usually for what you see, what you do see on the Janna right now, you do see an abundance of wards with a Fairy Charm that's playing a little bit defensive as a support. So Fairy Charm, 3 wards and 2 pots, 2 red pots is what you usually see as a support, but you can see differences in builds. Like right now, you see the Janna with a Fairy Charm and 4 wards, which kind of just covers the lane even more. But usually everything else right now, see differences in the AP carries. Not really. I mean, they both have the same thing. They have Annie with Boots in 3 and Kennen with Boots in 3. But you can start out Doran's Blade, not with Kennen, but on Doran's Ring with Annie. You can start out in the middle, getting that extra gold advantage over there. But usually you don't see that happen in the games, just because, again, the meta of NA slash the meta of early game right now is invade, get some damage in, steal something, and you know, win the game. So you want to have that early movement speed slash that movement to help out the team, to help you out, kind of just maneuver out of trouble. But yeah, so that's usually what you see. But you can start throwing split and ring with that. You can also start out some other ways, amplify and tune, and red pot is another way to go, so you can build it into an early Hextech Revolver. That's what some Ken some Katarinas will do. But otherwise, yeah, usual builds for AP mid you'll see is Doran's Ring, Boots 3 pots, or Amplify and Tune and a red pot. It all depends on your masteries too. You can have a really interesting greed mastery as well, but usually that's what you see for the middle lane. For the top lane, well, while we see the kind of over there, for the top lane, you do see an AP Bruiser versus a kind of AP Bruiser, but just kind of a tank. Differences in the still top lane for the starting items really depend on what kind of character you have. If you have a tanky tank, like straight tank, like what Malphite could be considered as, what Nautilus could be considered as, I mean, they can always change up their style and actually do more damage. Usually what you'll see from them is either really defensive items like Cloth Armor 5, or maybe Fairy Charm with pots or so. Like, you'll see some really defensive items, but you'll see them built into, you know, Philosopher's Stone, Heart of Gold, just to get that extra gold, extra tankiness, and be that much more dangerous in the mid to late game. When you're building tanky, you want to build to the mid to late game. You don't want to actually do anything. You don't want to do anything actually for the beginning game as well. So if you can't get some of the light harass and stuff, that's fine, but your goal is to dominate mid game, dominate late game. With what you see right now for both the AP Bruisers, you do see the Boots and 4 pots technically from both teams. Or Malphite did take a shot, so he did have to eat up a pot, but Boots and 4 pots. Usual thing sometimes. You do see Boots and 3 pots too, so I mean that's pretty strong. You also do see Cloth Armor and 5 happen, and I think it's a death, yeah. You do see Cloth Armor 5 sometimes as well, which is really strong as well. But Boots in 3 are usually the general idea, again, for top lane, for any solo kind of lane, just because you have that extra maneuverability and extra damage as well. So that's what you usually will see. The other things you can start out with, again, Doran's Rings at top lane for the AP bruiser. If you're a AD bruiser like Lee Sin, like a... yeah, Lee Sin probably be the best example to actually take Doran's Blade early. I mean, there's some advantages for taking Doran's Blade. It gives you the extra sustain, extra tankiness with the 80 health added onto it. But, I mean, it's not really that safe because usually with the top gank, like you see Shaco, you see the Fiddlesticks. I mean, it's early ganks, and early ganks can really damage you, kill you off. So, definitely don't want to actually have that happen to you. So, that's why I usually see Boots 3 as a kind of necessity to start out with. Limits your ways of actually, dying. So, yeah. Other than that, you usually just see what you see in this high elo game right now. So like, you see the Boots 3 on everybody, and it's kind of working out well. So generally, that's what you go. The only thing we talk about is junglers. Both junglers are kind of mobility junglers. That's the only thing that you can't really do. I mean, you can say that Fiddlesticks can start out Boots 3. He can start out Doran's Ring as well, but he's like specifically a kind of interesting jungler because he's really dependent on that blue buff. But for Shaco as well, you can say he can start out Boots 3, but generally, if you're a basic kind of beginning jungler, you usually start out Cloth Armor 5, just because or Cloth Armor 5 red pots, just because you do have that kind of extra tankiness to tank all the things in the jungle, but also you have that extra damage that can come in to kind of save you from the jungle as well, because you do have that extra tankiness. Plus, you probably usually have that mastery where you do have extra damage going out to the minion creep. So more tankiness, more damage you can give back, the more you can win in your jungle. So Cloth Armor 5, usual general kind of start out with. You can usually see Boots 3 with some mobility junglers, just like you did see with the Shaco, who did start out Boots 3, like Lee Sin, and like any other kind of mobility jungler, you usually see the Boots 3. Other than that, you do see with tank junglers, like Mundo, like Skarner, they start out Regrowth Pendant with 1 health pot, just because they can kind of get away with it, just because they have that extra sustain with that Regrowth Pendant in the lane. Plus, they're pretty tanky already from the start, so that happens. But with the Regrowth Pendant, you build up to that Philosopher's Stone, you get that early gold advantage, and you can help out lanes a little bit more, or you can stay in your jungle and farm up a lot. Different tells between Regrowth Pendant, Boots, and Cloth Armor. Cloth Armor, you just want to really just finish up your jungle really fast and get to a certain point. Usually you see that with like Warwick, sometimes you see it with Malphite, but usually with like Warwick, usually with who used to do Cloth 5 a little bit, not Rammus. Well yeah, Rammus would do it too. You can see it with a Mumu sometimes too. Like you want to hit a level, like a level 4 or level 6, where you have that stun and you can actually add that advantage in there. Usually it's not the general way to go anymore, just because mobility is a really key thing in this game of League of Legends right now. But it is pretty strong. So Cloth Armor 5, if you want to start out with that, that's really cool, and I implore you to do it because it actually helps you out a lot in the game of League of Legends. But with Boots start, Boots 3, you did see the Straco. If you don't remember, I can go rewind it back. But it's pretty much, he started out Boots 3 just to gank out early. And usually when you have that Boots 3 start, you want to gank early. You usually want to go to red and take that out, and then gank whatever lanes possible. Top lane for the purple side, bottom side for the blue side. But usually with those kind of junglers, you actually see that happen with more of a jungle presence like a Shaco, or jungle presence like a Lee Sin or a Mundo. But Mundo can also go another way, like he says, he goes where he pleases, and he can go Regrowth Pendant and a health pot. And a Regrowth Pendant health pot, lastly, is the tanky kind of build where you want to start out with that will get you that regret and stuff like that, and it'll give you extra tankiness. Pretty much that means you're just going to be really defensive. You're not really going to do anything to about level 3, level 4 as well, and you're gonna just sit in your jungle, eat up all the minions, get that gold advantage, and then help out your team at level 5, level 6, level 7, and help out the team and really work on it. I mean, it all depends on the game. Like literally, you could have just a little bit of downtime, and you know, kind of try to gank at level 2 or level 3 if you find it really cool to have that position on them. But usually, what happens is pretty much you form up, you get that gold, and you get that advantage if you can hold it down. So core items are about to be built right now. We're about the 11-minute mark in this game. Nothing really too interesting to say. Like right now it's 4-6 on the kill score. So pretty much right now the only things that should be really ahead are this Fiddlesticks and this Ezreal for the team of purple, while on the blue team it's kind of more spread around, and that's what you're seeing right now. So let's go talk about core items. Generally for an 80 carry, a core item is hitting that mark where you can have those double Dorans with a Vamp Scepter or without a Vamp Scepter, but hitting that double Dorans with your Berserker Greaves. At that time, when you hit that, your pre-core item set is pretty much set. You don't really need anything too different, too else. You're really tanky, you have that extra life steal, and you have that extra damage to do onto whoever comes at you. So really standard kind of thing from the Graves player right now, and also happening from the Ezreal player right now as well. Other things you can do as a core item for an 80 carry, you can start out using a Riddle Lantern, which, I mean, it's okay. It helps you secure Baron, secure Dragon a little bit earlier or so. I mean, those are big things, and you know what? That'd be really useful. So not bad idea at all. Oh, that kind of hurt. That's kind of baited his own Ezreal. But you know, I mean, that's cool. I mean, other than that, you could just go what I call the EU meta. It usually ramps up with a 3 Doran start with a. I mean, I don't think the Bloodthirster, not Bloodthirster, the Wriggle's Lantern is really needed sometimes. Sometimes I build it if I want to go EU, but it's usually triple Dorans with Berserker Greaves and the Phantom Dancer. So that's a usual start for the AD EU meta that, you know, want to secure more team objectives as well. So I mean, if you build that Wriggle's Lantern, if you build that triple Dorans Phantom Dancer, I mean, that's pretty much saying you're going to be helping out the team a little bit more, but you can still deal damage out as well. And the early Zeal as well, that's another thing that's been discussed. I mean, it's decent. It helps out for attack speed characters like Caitlyn, and I think Caitlyn's actually the only one that really uses it more over. I mean, she needs those extra attacks in so she can get those extra lucky crits. But you know, Caitlyn or maybe even Ashe to get those extra damage in with those extra, you know, crits. That really helps out if you get that early Zeal with that. With Ezreal and with Corki per se, you can start out with the double Dorans and the Berserk Greaves and then go straight to regular 80 carry build, which I'll talk about in a bit. But you do see like what this Ezreal right now, having that Sheen, having that Phage, or even that Zeal to start out with, so that he can actually get a little bit more out of his abilities, because Ezreal and Corki can spam out abilities a little bit more. You can take advantage of Sheen, you can take advantage of those procs from Phage, just because you can spit out a little bit more damage out with, you know, just extra abilities coming in and out. So really good to see from Ezreal, really good to see from a Corki, really good to see. Also see technically from Urgot, but you know, Urgot's more just a tank as well. You build him a little bit differently. So from there, you get those double Dorans, you get that boot speed too. You kind of build up to this thing called IE. IE, Affinity Edge, is a really strong item. Gives you that extra damage from, I think 80 extra attack damage, gives you that extra crit chance with 25%, and then gives you a boost on your crit damage. Instead of, I think it was 150, it gives you 250% of crit damage. So it's really strong. If you can get it really early, and you know, just own up your game, because you'll have that extra damage in, and it'll really help you out. Other builds that you can go kind of rush up to if you're losing the lane, supposedly, that's usually the saying goes. If you're winning your game, or if you're winning your lane, you go Affinity Edge first. If you're losing your lane, you go Bloodthirster first. Bloodthirster is a really strong item, especially since the buff it had, where it just loses half its stacks once you die. I mean, it's a really strong item, but generally what you see is Affinity Edge first. Bloodthirster, what it does, after you kill a minion or anything, you gain a stack, and per stack you gain attack damage and lifesteal. So it's a really good item. I usually build it really late game or maybe earlier game per se if I'm behind, but it's a really great item if you can farm up and just, you know, try to catch up. And that's why it is a catch up item, because it gives you that extra attack damage and that extra lifesteal, which the other AD probably won't have because he does have that Infinity Edge. So the only other thing that you can start out with as a AD carry, as your major first big item, is Trinity Force. This is only dependent on characters that can spam out abilities like Corki, like the only Ezreal, and that is why you see Trinity Force actually built out first. Trinity Force is a really strong item. It helps, you know, gives really great overall stats. Plus, it gives that extra stuff from Zeal, Phage, and Sheen. So it would be really strong to have for this Ezreal player and for this team in general. So we'll see what will happen with these AD carries right now. The support, usually what you want to start out with as your core beginning items is what you see with Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank over here. Having the awesome Heart of Gold and having that awesome Philosopher's Stone is going to be worlds ahead of the counterpart, who is Jenna. It doesn't have the Heart of Gold yet set up, but has that gold pretty much advantage right now, just because over time you get that extra gold. So usually with the support, you want to get at least 2 of those items, maybe even Lucky Kage Spade, because usually you see, you know, damage come out from abilities for support. So Kage Spit can be a third go for 10 item, but usually you want to be tanky, so you get that health with Heart of Gold, and you get that sustain with Philosopher's Stone. So those are your usual general builds you want to start out with. But after that, it's really dependent on the game what you want to do as a support. I mean, you can get Cerelia's Reverie, which is a speed buff plus a extra health regen and mana regen, plus the CDR cooldown reduction kind of buff. So you can get that for your supports. You don't really need it, but it's really cool to see. You can get also Age of the Legion. That's a really good first item as well. It really helps out your team, gives that extra AD, extra MR, and extra armor to the team, so that's really good. But yeah, I mean, those are 2 general items you want to rush up to. I mean, I don't think there's really anything else. I mean, Frozen Heart, stuff like that, just to help out. But usually you'll see with the support, you want to build up to your first aura item to help out your team, but to also detriment the other team on the offensive. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, generally that's what it is for supports. There's no real other way to really build them. I mean, you can build them just straight up damage as well, but it's generally used in the kill lane, say, Blitzcrank Pantheon or Draven Darius. Like, you'll see the supports build up a little more damagey. I mean, if you're having a Blitzcrank play as a damage carry or a damage kind of kill lane, you definitely want to use him to get like Trinity Force as well. In the mid lane, we do have the APs with usually starting out whatever they generally want to do. With Annie, it's a little bit more secure that you'll have this build kind of in. You want to start out with Boots of the Reap, and then you want to build up to your Double Doran's Ring. So getting that ring, again, just like the Double Doran's Blades, gives you that extra tankiness, gives you that extra mana regen, but also gives you that extra AP, which will be pretty solid to that early game to that mid game later. But with Cannon, what you see is a little bit different. He does have that Hextech Revolver. Sometimes you see from champions like Vladimir, Kennen, Rumble, you want to start out and grab out that Woda, so that's Will the Agent first, to actually get you that extra advantage in spell spam, and also because you don't really need mana because you're kind of minimalist champions. Yeah, you don't need that mana regen, so that's why you usually see them actually start out going for Hextech Revolver, actually getting the early level 2 boost as well to kind of get more damage in. So it's really good to see what differences builds for both. And that's generally what you see for AP mids right now. There's nothing really else to see other than maybe, I think it was Nijaki or one of those pro players that just started kind of not trolling, but you know, getting advantages by getting Lucky Kage's pick first and then getting Philosopher's Stone and all this other go for 10 items, which was really, really fun to see, definitely indeed. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility if you want to get it as well. But generally, what you want to start out with the core items, you want to help out to get that Hextech Revolver or that Double Dorrance into whatever your first item. Your general first item for AP mid is either Rada Aegis, which will help you get tankiness, mana, and health. Banshee's Veil is kind of a core item, but it's a core item only for a few people, Galio and Rise, respectively. But other than that, the other AP kind of item you want to get up is Death Cap or Zanya's. Depending on the situation, Zanya's to help out your AoE mass out a little bit more, like Morgana or Kennen. Or if you want to get the, not Zanya's, but the Death Cap, it'd be really, really strong because your Death Cap, you get way tons of damage and stuff like that. Just like how IE works for AD carry and AP carry with a Death Cap just does so much work. Lastly but not leastly, this is kind of considered for solo top and jungler because jungler and solo top kind of build up the same way either way. For tanks, usually what you see in general, I think we talked about it, get that early goal for 10, like what Maokai's doing, or sorry, what Malphite's doing, and now getting that Frozen Heart. Frozen Heart is usually the first rush item for tanky kind of anti-AD carry team. So definitely, it is kind of valid for this kind of point, but Kennen and Cho'Gath are doing way too much more than Malphite is doing. So don't know if Malphite building that Frozen Heart early would be a good choice, but it's a good first item in general for most teams because it cancels out pretty much whatever the AD carry can do as production, really. Usually other things you see from a top lane, we see at Cho'Gath, he kind of builds up a little bit more tankier, but he does have the, still the same thing with the tankiness, has the Philosopher's Stone, has the Horror Gold, but has Wit's End, and also, nothing but a Disruptor. But Wit's End is another rush item you see on Udyr usually, anyone that can get more auto attacks in, and can get a mass amount of, you know, just damage in that little burst of time with Wit's End. Wit's End, it gives you that extra magic shred and magic resist as well, so definitely a really good item to have if you can out attack a lot, like a Udyr, like a Cho'Gath, just to, you know, get in more damage to the team. So usually you see that as a rush item as well. And lastly but not leastly, if you want to play an AD bruiser, usually you see this from a Riven or a Lee Sin. You start out like an AD carry pretty much. You get the double Dorans, but instead of actually building up to like an IE or something, which I think Gameplay does sometimes, you can see some other champions do that. You build up to that Bloodthirster, and you build up to that Wriggles Lantern. Well, you can build up to Wriggles Lantern or Bloodthirster, whatever one you want to really choose. Wriggles Lantern to be a little bit more helpful team, Bloodthirster to, you know, just a little bit more damage. But usually that's what you see for a AD Bruiser, AD Assassin, AD Bruiser. Start out with that Double Dorans, and then you start out building that Bloodthirster or Wriggles Lantern to actually get a lot more damage in and kind of kill the team. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the item builds, the sturdiness. I mean, there's nothing really else to see other than, you know, junglers per se. I mean, junglers have the kind of same role. I mean, with the EP jungler right now, wow, Fiddlestick just doing massive amount of damage right here. That was pretty strong. I'll just go after this thing right here, but yeah. Usually with the AP mid, or I mean not AP mid, with a jungler that's AP bruiser-ish, you want to build up to that Zion's like Fiddlesticks would have done, which Fiddlesticks did, which was awesome. But usually for jungler, you want to build up just a little bit tanky, a little bit helpful, and sometimes you do see it with the Ageless Legions as well. It's all dependent on the situation, but pretty much everything that goes for solo top can go for the jungle as well, respective to the role. If AD Bruiser, AP Bruiser slash AP Assassin, AD Bruiser, or AD Assassin, and slash Tank. So that's pretty much the general idea of core items slash items in general for what you want to build up to first, what you want to core out to first, and then lastly but not leastly what you want to start out with. Again guys, this is the episode 12 call to arms, and we just called a lot of items out. Again guys, if you want to check out the guides, I'll be posting those out on this description link before this if you're checking this out on YouTube. But other than that, we will be back for part 2 of episode 12 in a bit. So don't you fret, don't you worry, we'll be right back.